back to my channel. I'm Trophy, and today's video is going to be about sleep training, how to get your baby to go to sleep, because we need them to sleep, and not just for a few hours. We want them to sleep through the night because it's very, very important for them and also for us and our sanity. It's just something that we want, it's something that we need, it's something that we gotta have. So if you guys are frustrated as I was just a few months ago and you're trying to get your baby to sleep through the night, then this is the video for you. Of course, I have to say that I am not an expert. I'm not a pediatrician. I don't have a degree on sleep training. I didn't go to school. I don't have a medical degree or anything like that. So of course, before you take any of my advice or anything, please consult your pediatrician, because you know they're the doctors, they know what's best. So before I decided to start sleep training him, he was sleeping in the room with me. He was sleeping in his bassinet, and every single night without fail I would put him to sleep in his bassinet. Then he would wake up like an hour or two after, and then he'll be hungry and I'll feed him. And then I guess because I was so sleepy and I didn't feel like putting him back in the bed, I didn't feel like going through that, he would just end up sleeping in my bed for the whole night, for the rest of the night, and he'll just be waking up, eating, going back to sleep and all of that. And it just wasn't good for me, and it wasn't safe for him, and I know that over time that would become a bad habit, and I don't want him to only be able to go to sleep if he's all up under me and stuff. And then in the middle of the night he would wake up so much and be fussy, and I was so sleepy. I wouldn't say lazy, I was so sleepy that I wouldn't even wake up to burp him. I would just roll over, breastfeed him, and then we'll both be asleep. It was just not, it wasn't a good thing, and I just wanted to stop it, and it was enough. And I needed my sleep, I needed my rest, and there was also a time when I was feeling overwhelmed, so I didn't get enough sleep, and I just needed sanity. I needed some space at night. Even though I love being under him and I love having him with me, he just needs to be in his own room. So I decided to let him sleep in his own crib. So the first thing I decided to do was let him sleep in his crib, in his room, so that in the middle of the night I wouldn't be tempted to pull him out of his bassinet and put him in the bed with me, because it was just so close. I wanted him to be on the other side of the house, so I would have to walk and feed him in the middle of the night. So I let him sleep in his crib for maybe a week or two, and he was just doing that and still waking up every 2 or 3 hours. And I would wake up and go in the room and feed him and put him back in his crib. If you have a baby that's, I would say, under 12 weeks, then don't even attempt to sleep train, because it's not gonna work. Some babies are actually able to sleep through the night from the beginning, or from the first few weeks. I don't know how, but it happens. I don't think you should force your baby or attempt to sleep train them too early, because that could, you know, mess with their development. When they're little like that, newborn babies, their stomachs are so small, and they have to eat, they have to feed every 2 hours. So I mean, you're just gonna have to go without sleep for those first few months. It's just a part of being a mom. You just gotta deal with it, you just gotta do it. But I think after 3 months, and when you get into 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, for sure, that's when you can, you know, attempt to do sleep training. And remember, I'm not a professional, this is just my opinion, so hey. So I decided on Labor Day night to start sleep training, and I knew that it was going to be hard in the beginning, and I knew that I was going to have to just bear with it while he was crying and stuff. And I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it actually was. It really only took him a few days to start, you know, sleeping longer and longer. So the method I did with him is basically the cried out method. I did not let him cry for hours and hours and hours before you're thinking, oh, she's a terrible parent, she's a terrible mother, how could she let her baby cry? Sorry. I'm sorry, I just thought that was funny. But I did not let him cry for super long. I think the most that he cried was 30 minutes, and that was the first night. And eventually his crying started to be less and less and less, and his waking up time became less and less. So the first night I put him to sleep, and he woke up, he cried for about 30 minutes, and I just left him in his crib. I let him cry, and I was trying to see if he would, you know, put himself back to sleep, because babies, they have a tough time, you know, just going to sleep. When they're tired, they're not gonna just go to sleep. They're gonna cry, they're gonna be whiny. They're not just gonna say, oh, I'm sleepy, let me go lay down, let me go take a nap. No, they're not gonna do that. So sometimes in the middle of the night, babies wake themselves up and they cry. They may still be sleepy and may want to go back to sleep, but they can't because they're babies and they don't know how to just put themselves to sleep. So sleep training is basically teaching your baby to stay asleep, and whenever they wake up, to put themselves back to sleep. Yeah, he woke up, he was crying for about 30 minutes, and eventually he cried himself back to sleep, and then he slept again for a little while, and then he woke up, and that's when I fed him. So those first few days, when the first initial time he would cry, I would let him cry and let him cry himself back to sleep. And then the next time he would wake up, even if it was like 20 minutes after or an hour after, I would feed him then, because that means that like he's really hungry. So I felt the first time he just woke himself up, and then the next time I would feed him. So I was still feeding him at least once a night in the beginning. I have a couple of notes on like the times that he was sleeping in the beginning. The first night I dropped the ball, y'all, and I didn't write really good notes, so we're gonna skip the first night. We're gonna go to night 2. So on the second night I put him to sleep at 10:20, and in the process I was also like making a new routine for us, because he didn't have a routine and he would just go to sleep whenever I went to sleep. So I was trying to get him to a good sleep time, so I was starting off by putting him to sleep at 10. Right now he goes to sleep at around 9:30. So the second night I put him to sleep at 10:20. He woke up 4 hours later, which is pretty good, and he woke up at 2:25, and I just let him cry, and he eventually went back to sleep at 2:45, and then he woke up again at 3:45, so that was like an hour later, and I fed him, and then he slept for 4 more hours, and he woke up at 7:30. So you can see that his sleeping times are starting to get a little longer, so he's sleeping at like 4 hours at a time. And before this, before I even started like letting him cry a little bit, he was sleeping every 2 hours, like literally waking up every 2 hours on the dot. The third night it was starting to get better, so I put him to sleep at 9:30. He woke up at 12:20, that's 3 hours later, but then he put himself back to sleep, and he went back to sleep at 12:28. So he went to sleep 8 minutes later. It only took him 8 minutes to go back to sleep, which is amazing versus the 30 minutes, you know, before, or the 20 minutes before. So it took him 8 minutes. He went back to sleep, and then he woke up again at 2:30. So that's 2 more hours, and then that's when I went in to feed him. After that, he woke up at 6 o'clock, and then he woke up again at 9:20. Night 4, he went to sleep at 10:30, and he woke up at 3:50, and then that's when I went to go feed him. So that's 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. He slept 5 hours. I know I was real happy tonight. So he slept 5 hours, and then I went to go feed him, and then he went to sleep, and he woke up probably around 9, but I didn't write down a time for that. It just continued and continued. By September 12th, which is 10 days later, and I have been doing the same thing, he slept for 6 hours, and then he went to sleep, and then he slept for 4 more hours. And then September 13th, he slept for 8 hours, y'all. 8 hours, y'all. So after September 13th, I kind of stopped taking notes because it was like 2 weeks later, and that's when he pretty much just started sleeping through the night. So it took me 2 weeks of doing this for him to sleep through the night. I know some babies can do it a lot faster, and I know if I was on it a little bit more, I could have done it a little bit better, because some nights I did slip up, and I would go in there, and like in the middle of the night I would let him sleep in his crib, and then sometimes I would still even bring him back to the bed with me, or sometimes I would just go in there and feed him right away the first time he cried. And I don't know, I'm just a weakling, okay? But I know it could be done a little bit faster, but to me I still think 2 weeks or even 3 weeks is a good amount of time to sleep train a baby, because you got to put the hard work in right then and there, but it's gonna really pay off, because he's been sleeping so good, and he does not wake up in the middle of the night ever. So now he usually goes to sleep around 9 o'clock or 9:30 and wakes up around 6. And for the past 2 days, y'all, he's been waking up later and later. So last night I put him to sleep at 9:30, and he woke up at, this morning he woke up at like 8:45, almost 9 o'clock, which is crazy. And the night before that, he went to sleep around 9:30, and he woke up at 7. So his stretches of sleep, they're getting longer and longer. So now I'm gonna tell you guys all of the tips I have and the other things I did One of the main things I did, I already told you guys about, was letting him cry. So the first time he wakes up in the middle of the night, I let him cry and let him put himself back to sleep. And then when he wakes up again, that's when I went to go feed him. And then eventually he'll sleep longer and longer periods of time, and then you won't have to go in and feed him in the middle of the night. I didn't want to start the sleep training by just not feeding him in the middle of the night. I wanted him to slowly, you know, get used to it, so that it can be like more of a transition, instead of just throwing him in there like, no, you don't get no more food. You're used to eating every 2 hours, but now you don't eat. Not to the morning time, no. So I kind of transitioned him, and he kind of just started sleeping for longer periods of time on his own. So that was one of the things I did. Helping your baby sleep through the night kind of starts in the daytime. So things that you do throughout the day can help them sleep through the night. And one thing is to stretch their feedings. Terrell was used to eating every 2 hours, and to help him prepare, you know, to sleep through the night and to go longer periods of time without eating, I decided to stretch his feedings in the daytime. So instead of feeding him every 2 hours, I fed him every 3 or 4 hours. The way I was able to easily stretch his feedings without him really noticing was to do the eat, play, nap method. So when your baby wakes up, of course they're hungry and it's time to feed them. So that's what I would do. So that's the feeding part, the eat part, and then they play. So I let him play for a couple of hours, and then instead of, before I put him down for his next nap, feeding him again so he can have a nice full stomach, I would just let him go to sleep after he was tired from playing. And he wouldn't sleep that long, maybe like an hour or so, because he'll wake up and be hungry again. But that'll give me another hour, and then that'll make it so that it's been 3 hours since he ate. So let's say he woke up at 12 o'clock, okay? He woke up at 12 o'clock, I fed him at 12, and then he's playing for a couple hours. So he's playing at 12, 1, 2, and then you put him down for a nap at 2. He's probably gonna wake up around 3 because he's gonna be hungry, and he wakes up and eats at 3. So instead of me feeding him at 2 o'clock before his nap, it stretches feeding. Does it make sense, y'all? I know it makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I hope it's making sense when I say it. I feed him, he plays a little bit, and then he takes a nap. Basically, that's what he does every day. I don't feed him for him to go to sleep. So he doesn't, and that's another thing too, he's not dependent on me feeding him in order for him to go to sleep, because when you sleep train, your baby needs to be able to go to sleep on their own. They shouldn't have to be fed or to be, you know, up under you in order to go to sleep. So a big thing with sleep training is teaching them to go to sleep on their own. Is very, very, very important. So that's the reason why I let him sleep in his own room. And anytime I would put him to sleep, he was not already asleep. So I wouldn't feed him and put him to sleep and then go put him in his crib. No, I would make sure that he was always awake when I put him in his crib, which is very important because he needs to go to sleep on his own. That's where my next tip comes in, which is having a nighttime routine. So every single night, which I am going to film for y'all very, very soon. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I finally got a good nighttime routine, and we've been doing it for a month, and it helps him sleep through the night. It's really good. It's really simple. So basically what I do is I give him a bath, then I feed him, then I change him, and then I change him into his night clothes and everything, and then we go in the room, I read him a book, and then he goes to sleep. So he still has like a little bit of awake time after he eats, maybe like 30 minutes, and then he'll go to sleep. So it's not him going straight to sleep after he eats most of the times, unless he's like really, really sleepy and he won't wake up, which he did like a few times. But for the most part, I feed him, change him, read him a book, and then he goes to sleep. And that's been doing, that little routine has really been helping him out. Every night when I put him in his bed, it's a little different. Some nights he just goes straight to sleep. He's like really pooped, he'll just go straight to sleep. He doesn't cry at all. Some nights he does cry for about 5 minutes or so, but it's definitely not as long as it was in the beginning. And then he'll just go to sleep eventually, and it's all good. Another thing that helps him go to sleep and sleep through the night is me having his sound machine on. He's used to that sound, and I think it just helps him know that it's time to go to sleep. I always turn off the lights, cut on the sound machine, and then I'm gone. And it's just like every single night. It's very consistent. I also think that introducing him to solid foods played a good part in it as well. That's why I say younger than 3 months, they're still too young. At 4 months, 4 or 5 or 6 months, that's when you're able to introduce your baby to solid foods, and that can really make a difference and help them sleep through the night because their stomachs are, you know, fuller. The night that I fed him solid foods was the night that he slept 8+ hours. Before that, he was sleeping 6 hours, 5 hours, and 4 hours. He was still sleeping longer periods of time, but he slept the longest whenever I introduced him to solid foods. And since that day, he's been, you know, starting to sleep through the night. So him being full and eating, you know, his solid foods really helps him to sleep through the night. When he goes to sleep, I make sure he's comfortable, so I always make sure he sleep in one of his warm little sleepers so he doesn't get too cold in the middle of the night. He doesn't sleep with any blankets, of course, in his crib. Nothing in his crib. That's all he sleeps with, his little cozy little sleepers, and those keep him nice and warm. I think that's it, you guys. These are my little tips that I wrote down. I don't have a ton of tips written down, but these are the things that work for him, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. So just to recap, stretch their feedings if you can throughout the day for, you know, every 3 to 4 hours so they can be used to going longer stretches of time without eating. Eat, play, nap, and that makes it easier for you to stretch their feedings if you go like that. Let them eat, let them play a little bit, get tired, and then let them nap, and then when they wake up they can eat again. Also, whenever you are trying to start the sleep training, be strong. Be very, very strong. Make sure when you put them to sleep, they aren't asleep. They need to be able to go to sleep on their own. And it's so much easier, y'all. It's so much easier to have them sleeping in their own crib, in their own room, because if they're sleeping in a room, I mean, I know everybody isn't able to have a totally different room for the baby, but if you can, then try to have them in a different room or in a different space. Like, even if they're in the same room as you, you can get like something to like separate the room or something, because when they wake up, if they look at you and they see you, then they're gonna want to come to you. Make sure you have a nighttime routine set up for them. Make sure you stay strong when they cry in the middle of the night. Remember that this is for the better good of the baby. It's good for them to learn to sleep on their own and not be dependent on you to go to sleep. And it's good for you. It's good for your relationship to, you know, have your own space. Remember, it doesn't last that long. I promise y'all. Like, within the first week or so, he was already sleeping longer periods of time. Like, the 3rd day, I think he was sleeping like 4 hours at a time. So the little crying is something that you gotta be strong with. I know nobody wants to hear their baby crying, but I know I didn't want to. Babies cry, so you just gotta be strong. If your baby's crying for longer than 30 minutes, then of course go get them. Don't just let them cry for hours and hours. And even, I said that Terrell was crying for 30 minutes, but it wasn't him like really bawling, crying for 30 minutes straight. He wasn't just he would cry a little bit, he would whine, he'll stop, and he'll like try to put himself back to sleep, but then wake up and cry and whine again. It wasn't just bawling out crying. You can tell if your baby like really needs you, or if they really need you to go in the room, but it's a difference from just whining and waking up and like and going back to sleep than just like crying and just needing you. Like, you can tell the difference. Of course, you're a mom, you know when your baby like actually needs you, so don't just like let your baby cry and cry and cry just for the sake of letting them sleep through the night, you know. But if you just hear them whining and you know that they're just, you know, having a little tough time putting themselves to sleep, then just let them do it and they'll eventually go to sleep on their own. I hope these tips help you. If anybody tries these methods or any of these tips, leave them down below. Let me know. Y'all just give it a try. Like, when you do it, you have to be all in. You have to be committed to it. You have to be committed to keeping the routine, keeping a set schedule, because babies need routines, they need schedules, and you just have to like stick to it. You have to do it every night because they're gonna get used to it eventually, and you have to really, you know, stay on top of it, stay on it. But and another tip I almost forgot is to let your baby nap in the day. Your baby needs to nap in the day. I know sometimes people think that, oh, if I keep my baby up, then they're gonna be really tired at night and they're gonna sleep through the night. No, that's gonna be even worse, because babies need sleep. They need sleep for their development. You don't want to deprive your baby of sleep in the daytime just so they can sleep through the night, because it's not good for their brain. They have to sleep in the day. There's plenty of charts and stuff about awake time and how long your baby's supposed to be awake, depending on how many months they are, how many years they are. And you should try to follow that, because I find that it's very true. I find that after 2 hours of Terrell being up, or 2.5 hours of him being up, he gets really cranky, and that's a sure sign that he needs a nap. And when he takes good naps through the day, he sleeps better during the night, like seriously. So don't deprive your baby of sleep. Terrell is about to be 6 months, and he takes about two to three naps a day. It just depends on what time he takes them. He takes them at different times. I don't have a set nap schedule, which I want to make. I want to have like a set time that he goes to sleep and takes his naps. So I'm gonna try to get, you know, more organized when it comes to that. But regardless, he takes 2 good naps throughout the day. But I don't let him sleep for more than 2 hours, which is another tip. Do not let your baby sleep for more than 2 hours throughout the day, because they're not gonna be sleeping that long at night. So I don't know, you want your baby to sleep through the day, but you don't want them to sleep too long. So I don't let him take naps for more than 2 hours. His first nap is always like 2 hours, and then his next nap is shorter, maybe like 45 minutes to an hour. But as long as he gets 2 naps in throughout the day, that's good. All right, y'all, so I think I'm about to end the video right here. Terrell is actually napping. He's taking his nap of the day. He went to sleep at 12:45, and it is 1:45. I've been filming for like an hour, and he's still asleep. Hopefully he can get another hour of sleep in. But yeah, I'm about to end this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like this video, give me a huge thumbs up. Smash the thumbs up button. Subscribe to my channel if you guys are not already subscribed to my channel. Turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And usually when I upload a video, I always reply to you guys' comments right when I upload it, because it's like I'm right there in the moment. So if you watch my videos right away, then I'm gonna reply to your comments right away, because I know sometimes it's hard for me to get around to everybody's comments, and I try, y'all. So yeah, and please like my video, you guys. Share my videos, comment down below. It helps my channel so much when you guys like the videos, when you comment, when you're interactive. So I appreciate all of you guys for coming to my channel video after video, showing love. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Wait, dang, I can't get, am I supposed to get too close to the camera? All right, let's try it again. I love you guys. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.